starting in 3, 2, 1. I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and we're starting a couple of minutes late, but we're actually a couple of minutes early, so we have time to talk a little bit before the match. And you cannot see my special guest, but you can hear my special guest. I'm very happy to co-host today with Dan Chard, whom you also might know as the captain of the UK team and one of the best players in the UK. And also, of course, as the author of this book of Carcassonne. Alrighty, Dan, can you say hello to everybody? Let's see if everybody can hear you.
I can, yeah. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Alrighty, so there is going to be a lot of things to talk about because in addition to commenting on the game, there's loads of Carcassonne related things I'd like to ask you. But first of all, let's pick a game to watch. So just a reminder for everybody, Netherlands is playing Germany. It's round 3 of World Team Carcassonne Online Championships. So Dan, do you have a preference, perhaps?
There's a couple of really good clashes here. Certainly in terms of being well matched. I kind of feel as though duel number 2, Bexay against Rizamax, might be a good one to watch. But to be honest, I think they're all pretty good.
So I would agree. Let's start with duel number 2. It's gonna be Patrick Beckenhutte from Netherlands and Rizamax from Germany. Oh, sorry about that. I'm gonna just double check real quick. I sometimes forget people's names. Rizamax. Dietmar Tunges. So actually, Rizamax Dietmar is a very interesting player for several reasons. First of all, he has been playing since the early 2000s, so it's, since the start of the game. Also, as you see, he's over 700 rated, so which classifies him as a master in Board Game Arena. And also, he used to be number 1 at some point, actually quite recently, and so I think he made it to either to 800 or close to 800, which few people have at this moment. And another interesting fact is that Dietmar is the author of quite a powerful Carcassonne bot. So I don't know if you had I don't know if you knew that, Dan, or if you had any chance to play with the Carcassonne program that Dietmar created with another of his friends in the early 2000s.
I didn't, to be honest. I was enjoying listening to your introduction there and learning from it. But no, I've played a lot of AI versions. I don't know specifically which one he created. Are you talking about the Koch Media one, or is it a different version?
The Koch Media one.
Right, that is one which I've heard great things about. I've never actually had a chance to play it myself, but I know plenty of very strong players who have said that is the strongest AI that they've ever played against. So I would love to give it a go someday.
Indeed, and also unfortunately it appears to have been discontinued, but you know, the hope is not lost. Maybe we'll get back to it. By the way, so far something's developing in the game, but we're gonna get to the game in a second because we have already many questions in the chat. All right, hi Elias, hi William, hi Glovier, hi Limbo Man, hi Craft Giraffe, hi Sergio. First question: am I streaming Mexico versus Catalonia tomorrow? I don't think so. I am streaming 3 matches on Sunday, but I think Mexico and Catalonia are not playing on Sunday. Yeah, unfortunately, there's just a small thing that's called work that I gotta sometimes attend. All right. So William Prime is answering. It's kind of segueing into the first question is about the screen name. He's saying Dan is thirsty.
No, that comes up quite a lot, but no, it goes back to something a nickname which I created sort of around about the time that I was 30, and that was actually before I'd even started playing Carcassonne. But it became sort of like my online persona, and so when I got into Carcassonne and started posting at Carcassonne Central, then it made sense that that would be the nickname that I use. But I've been called all sorts of things there. Not all of which I can share, unfortunately. And yeah, Dan is thirsty is certainly one of them.
All right. Now we also get we're also being asked about your book, and I just put the link in the chat. Yes, it is available. I think it is in stock.
It is.
But this also segues into another thing. So, of course, you're most welcome to buy the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think if you are, let's say, if you're on your road to a rating of 500, you can learn quite a lot. If, let's say, if you're past 500, you might find specific parts of a book enjoyable ones. There's a lot about expansions. It covers them very well, and another, it has interviews with world champions. That's like by far my favorite part, where they share their general and sometimes psychological insights into the game. By the way, in the meantime, the players are doing a great job in playing slowly so that we don't miss too much of the game. Also, the positions are roughly equal. It's kind of closed because many crossroads are out. Patrick is about to finish. And now he's about to finish a fantastic 8-point city because that also secures his road. And with that, Yellow, we can safely say that Yellow has an advantage. But we'll get back into a second because there's another way to get this book. Maybe can you talk about that, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alexey has suggested that if people wanted to perhaps have a guess at what the scoreline was going to be for this match. So we probably want to get this out of the way as quickly as possible before the scores start to become clear. But yes, if you like to have a guess at what you think the scoreline is going to be between Netherlands and Germany in terms of duels won and perhaps also games won, then we will be picking the closest answer. And we will be sending that person a signed copy of the book along with some other goodies potentially. So have a guess at how you think it's going to go, and we will happily send you a book if you're right.
Yes. So please send your guesses in the chat, and also a signed copy, right, Dan?
Absolutely, yes. I'll sign it with anything you want, as long as it's decent. And yes, I'll get it to you.
All right. So Elias is already guessing for Germany. So please, because I think that we might have more than one correct score, then can you guess both the number of duels won and the number of games won? So, for example, you could write your guess as, Germany, Netherlands 3-2, and in parentheses, for example, 6-5, which means that, Germany won 6 games and Netherlands won 5 games. And for that, maybe some of our viewers will need to be reminded of the format of the game. So it's 5-on-5. There are 5 duels happen simultaneously. Each duel is best of 3. So as soon as a player gets 2 victories in a duel, the duel stops and that player is granted victory. And so this means that the score can be either 5-0, 4-1, 2-3, 3-2, 4-1, 0-5. So just only those options. As for the games, any team can win a maximum of 10 games if it wins all 5 duels 2-0, for example. But depending on how the duels go, whether the score is 2-0 or 2-1, the losing team might have more or less winning games. All right, so Limboman is guessing. But Limboman, are you... so is that for Netherlands or for Germany? Yeah, okay. Daniel's betting on Germany. Gabor is betting on Germany. Everybody's betting on Germany. So
it's quite a difficult one to call, actually. I think Netherlands and Germany have both been teams which the UK has struggled with in the past. I think if it was me and I had to pick one as a potential opponent, I think I would probably pick Germany being the team that I would rather play, because I think we possibly have a better record against them than we do Netherlands. But it's funny how different teams seem to do better or worse against different opponents. So it really doesn't mean anything in this respect.
all right, yeah, and well, we're having even more guesses for Germany. Then I think we gotta set a limit, right? So until what time are we taking guesses? Shall we say the first 45 minutes of the stream? What do you think? Or maybe shall we go a little longer?
Yeah, I'm happy to I'm happy to follow your example. I think perhaps we probably don't want it going any later than the first set of games have been completed, because that's all extra information. I would probably go shorter if it was up to me.
Probably. So then let's go like maximum of 20 of 40. So now it is I think 1909 UTC. We're both in the UK, Dan and I, so it's 2009 for us, and we're taking guesses until 2040 or the end. No, just 2040.
Yeah. Let's keep it simple.
So maybe we can start making sense of the position a little bit. Well, yellow with the advantage, that's what I can see. Can you see the game, Dan, already?
Yep, I'm watching it. I've got all 5 games on, and I'm just sort of clicking between them at the moment. But yes, I'm at the moment watching Bexy versus Rizamax. Always takes a little while just to sort of kind of get up to speed with what the positions are like.
Well, because they'll say that yellow has an advantage, So yellow's about to share the city on the right, and there are no dividers left, so black will not be able to complete the city by himself. Even though black is behind 4 points, he might equalize if he manages to quickly complete his city at the bottom. 14 points, yes.
Yeah.
Black can manage to complete his city quickly at the bottom, although it doesn't look it's going to happen, because yellow might block this city with this triple city tile. Although yellow might choose to connect to, yes, and actually I like this move a little bit better. There will be a time for blocking, maybe a little bit later. And let's say if black manages to complete his 8-point city, then he will still have the 7-point monastery, and actually the situation is going to be quite equal. So I think a lot of it really comes down to that city. Now, black gets a difficult tile to play, I think, and I see a couple of options. One, you can either put it to your bottom city and expanding it like this, which I sort of like. But there were a couple of alternatives as well. For example, indirectly attacking the city on the right, trying to connect to it from the side like this, or even dropping a field meeple on the 6-point field that you see right there in the middle. All these options are possibly suitable for later. Now yellow, I guess, is debating with himself and with his soul whether to block this city. For example, you can add this triangle to black city facing down, make it much harder to complete, but not impossible, because there would be still 2 tiles suitable to fill in the rising gap. Yellow might also complete, and yellow went for the block. There were a couple of options as well, but damn, how do you approach these situations? Do you block a lot, and also do you also block whilst also adding points to your opponent? Because even though this move makes it much harder to complete the city, in the short term it actually adds 1 point to Black City. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when Black extended his city out that way, the risk is there because you know that you've got that road pointing down, and Yellow did exactly sort of what you'd expect to see, and probably what I would do as well. In fact, I think I possibly do it too much. You know, it's quite hard sometimes to draw the line between giving too many points away because you're trying to make it difficult for your opponent to close something. I mean, what might have been frustrating there would have been if Yellow had done what he did and then Black had immediately drawn the exact tile that he needed to close the city off. And then you're like, oh, well, thank you very much for those extra 2 points. But equally, if he had left it open, then it probably, his chances of completing it would have been quite great. And that would then have been sort of 2, 4, 6, 8, an easy 10 points for him, which could really change the outcome of the game. So I think he's reduced the chances of him completing that city now. And it means he's got a meeple that is going to be awkward to get back. And at this stage, Yellow has got a decent meeple advantage. So he probably wants to try and keep that for as long as he can. So yeah, I would have done the same thing there. It will be interesting to see whether or not he's able to take that further to complete the block and make it impossible for him to close that city altogether.
Great point, Dan, about him having the meeple advantage and wanting to double down on that. And look, also what happens importantly, we see this move right here. So Black was forced to start a new city on the side instead of nicely completing his city that he had. So not only Yellow made it harder to complete the city for Black, but actually Yellow also took away many tiles from Black and made it harder for Black to use certain tiles. Now, interesting thing about this block, while I very like Yellow's move now, is because when attempting to fully block Black, which of course is something that Yellow will do at some point, Yellow will be able to do that with tempo, because all Yellow's got to do is just add 1 more point to his city over here, this little 4-point city, where you have the 1 yellow meeple. Just add like 1 below, maybe a triangle, a triple city, anything, and then this will create a threat of putting something over here and just closing off any opportunities for Black to complete a city. So not only can he block, but he can also block with tempo, and this is one of those aspects where there's something in common between Carcassonne and chess, is that tempos are important.
I think just to add to that as well, if Yellow had extended his city where you suggested, then if Black wanted to defend it, then he would have to add points to Yellow's city in order to do so, because he'd be adding to that city to point a road into the gap where he needs it.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, I see that as well. So you see, but Yellow didn't start to wait for a tempo. Yellow just figured that, he'd be doubling down on the meeple advantage, and even at the potential cost on 1 more meeple, Yellow would just try and block instantly. Now, what could happen out of this, if Black grabs a triple city, Black could simply block himself and maybe just add the triple city to Yellow's city, but then make sure that both yellow meeples are blocked, not just 1. However, I think that the reason Yellow opted for that is because how many triple cities there are? 8 in total, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here they are. So there are only 2 triple cities left, which makes this scenario that I'm describing not particularly likely. And here we go. Yellow manages to successfully complete the block and still keep the 2 cities alive. Maybe not so much the one above. It looks like it will be extremely hard to complete, and probably Yellow won't be even trying, but the one below can easily be completed with 2 city caps or 2 triangles. There are not so many triangles left in the game. I think there are only 3, although it's not nothing. Well, only 2 actually.
2, yeah.
Yeah, but there are plenty of city caps remaining, and this is something that I expect will
Mm,
happen. Yeah, I expect Bexy almost immediately dropping a city cap over here. Maybe not
yeah.
bothering about this city too much, unless you want to try and be too ambitious. I think that would be just too greedy.
That city that he's got there is a good one just for sort of potentially throwing big tiles at. Not that there are many left now, but if he wants to leave it as a ruin, then he can still take some good points from that, even if it's not finished.
Yes, all righty. Yeah, that's a great point. And the term, if you remember, you probably remember, sort of the founder of one of our Latvian players and the founder of the website Carcassonne.lv, who did kind of a lot for the culture of the game in our country, Andrei Mitrofanov, whom you also may know as Mr. Numbers in Board Game Arena. He calls this concept of he would call this city, like this little 4-point city, a garbage can. So
Right.
in the sense that it is a city where you can, like in a garbage can, throw otherwise useless tiles.
Yeah.
And it's good to
Yeah.
have one in Carcassonne as long as there's only one, so you have only one meeple invested there. In the
Yeah.
meantime, let me read it, a chat a bit, because there are loads of interesting questions. One for you. So, just a reminder to everybody who is joining. Well, we have lots of viewers. So Dan is giving away a signed copy of this book, the Book of Carcassonne. Also, if you're impatient and you wanna buy that, the link is also in the chat, and I posted it. Let me actually see if I can pin it. Yes, I can already. So, but you can also get it if you predict correctly the winner of this game, and you still have 20 minutes to do so. So you got to predict the winner, the score, and the number of games. So Melvin is saying 3-2 for Germany. Can you also specify how many games, like is it how many games each side will win, not just duels? All right, so we're having lots of bets for Germany. William, Limboman, Gabor, Daniel, all betting for Germany. Steven betting for Germany. However, Nico saying have to support the Dutch speaking. So a bit of linguistic mafia there. And Glovier is saying to that they're supporting Netherlands to go against the tide. Oh, we have so many. All right, we have several questions to our guest, which is great. Let me just. So first of all, Dan, what is the goal for Team UK in this championship for you?
What the goal?
Let me
I
just.
I don't want to sound too ambitious, but I would really love for us to win it. We at the moment we're not quite at the top of our group because Spain have taken over from us. But I feel like we've had some really good matches. We've got a very strong team this year, and you know I want to aim big, and I think that we have got enough players, quality players, to win the whole thing. So I'm not going to settle for less. I'm going to say that I would love for us to go all the way.
Oh, that's the spirit. I like this answer. Also, indeed, I think you have a couple of fresh faces and really strong players. Also, you already won the first two games until the first two teams who I think were the favorites in our group, especially Team China. So I think Team China was a little bit underrated because they, well, didn't participate fully in last year's championship. You know why? Because they cheated. But this year they were kind of very apologetic about it. They changed their lineup a lot. They still have very strong players, and yet Team UK managed to beat them. Well, at least from my side, I hope that you succeed very well in all but one games of your tournament. Yeah, because Latvia is in the same group, and we're now in a more difficult situation. So we would quite need that win next week. But we recognize it's not going to be easy. We started preparing.
When we were doing the draw and you were the last team to come out, I literally had my fingers crossed under the desk and we were the green team, and Melvin was drawing out a meeple, and I was just thinking, please, can it not be a green meeple? And it was a green meeple. I should have known, but yeah, it was. It's a great group. It's a very strong group because as well as Latvia and UK, we have.
Oh, I lost you. Okay, it appears that I may have temporarily lost Dan. We'll get him back. We'll get him back no matter what. In the meantime, I'm gonna comment on the game a little bit. No, so as for the game, it's actually I'm extremely grateful to the players who keep playing slowly. Oh, they are describing the chat. Yes, Patrick was saying that the cloisters are killing me, and he's correct, man. Well, first of all, Green got the draw of the monasteries, and also managed to complete them next to each other, and that's worth a lot of points. And now, just a few minutes ago, red had the advantage, but now black has the clear advantage with equal meeples and about to complete this monastery as well, probably with extra tempo. So it's going to be quite difficult for red. Red will probably need to draw the remaining monastery to make sure that red puts it right there in the middle, gets the 4 points. Again, remember, just like last time, for some reason I keep calling yellow reds. No, I meant yellow. And there you go, yellow draws that, and now anything can happen in this game. So yellow has way more points in the board. However, black has more meeples and more points on the scoreboard as a result of the 27 points from completed 3 monasteries. Let me check on Dan again. Yeah. It said call started. What's that? Already. We're gonna try again. It says Dan is unavailable. Well, that's unfortunate. All right, we're gonna keep trying. So, in the meantime, we have many more predictions coming in the chat. Yeah, Raf, I very much like your suggestion about the monasteries. So when yellow took the 2 points here, yellow had an option instead of taking 3 points over here at some point over here next to a road, but preventing black from completing his monastery with another monastery. So even though the net number of points would have been the same, like either +2 over here or +1 for a yellow next to a monastery, but this would have taken some tiles away from black. Yes. I mean, it wasn't a mistake or anything, because there were reasons. There were reasons for doing this as well. For example, maybe yellow didn't want to bring black's monastery closer to completion. In the meantime, still black is looking great because black is about to connect over here. This doesn't look like a blockable connection at all. Alrighty, I think we're gonna get Dan back. Hello, are you back? Yeah, no worries, no worries. In the meantime, I was like still reading chat, and now already we're discussing, sort of evaluating some of the players' move. Nothing much has changed other than the fact that black is now attacking the main farm on the left, and that farm will probably be absolutely necessary for yellow to even think about winning this game. But we have some more interesting comments. Oh yeah, zooming in a bit just in a second. Actually, let me do that. Probably. Oh, but now it's too late to zoom in because well, we're covering the entire map anyway. That's what actually one of the reasons why I zoom when I start a game. I like zoom out everything in the first place, just because I know that I will need to zoom out later. So I better get my mind used to the small tiles, even though if I can fit more tiles, just so that I don't need to like change the way I'm seeing things. I know I don't want to miss a field connection. Do you zoom in like only when it's necessary, or right from the start, Dan? Mm-hmm. Oh no! Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's just so. Okay, see, this is the thing that happened again. Like I just called you on Skype, and so I muted it so that nobody like hears the Skype sound. But then you came back. Okay, basically to sum up, yeah. So Dan, you basically said that you don't zoom in.
No, exactly. Well, no, I do zoom in at first. I just like the screen to be full of tiles. So yeah, as long as and I have to zoom out later on as the screen starts to get full. But I'm afraid I'm getting a bit distracted by the game.
Well, that's kind of important, but we're getting so many interesting questions. For example, so Raf mentioning something about your book. That actually he already has it, and he says that that helped him to qualify for the Belgian national team and
Oh, wow.
participate,
I'm really glad to hear that. Congratulations, Raf.
and
It's
also to enter the top 100 at some point on Board Game Arena.
oh, amazing. I wish I could do the same, and I wrote it. I, I don't know if you've noticed the same, Alexei, but just recently, probably in the last maybe three months, certainly since the last arena season, the quality of players has really just gone through the roof, and I find myself I'll have a game against somebody without necessarily spotting their elo. Um, and it will be a really tough game, and maybe I'll just about win it, or maybe I'll lose it by a mile, but then I'll look at that elo afterwards, and it's sort of in the 200 or 300s, and I'm just thinking, how is that right? Yeah, it's the level, the standard has just exploded.
Indeed, I also see that, for example, there are now over 30 masters, which was like unthinkable 3 years ago. But I definitely like it's headed in the right direction. It also forces me, to learn new things and keep sharp. Uh, Oh, okay. Probably we won't be able to answer all questions. So, like, feel free if you believe that your question is very interesting, then feel free to just type it again. So we got to comment on the game a little bit because now the decisive stuff is happening. So yellow did manage to reclaim the field. However, black brilliantly started a counter field, or what I call a counter field, for 6 points on the right, knowing that there are 2 monasteries remaining, and now with the monastery, black was able to turn this 6 point field into a 9-point field.
Yeah.
And now there's not much difference between this field and the field on the left, which is worth 12 points. So let's actually count this up. So on the scoreboard, Bexy, yellow, is at -8. On field, +3, so it is -5. The cities, if you compare these two cities at +1, so it's -4. Then there's this city, so it's -5, so it's -9. But then there's this road, nice road for yellow. Actually, excellent connection. He managed to grab the road whilst connecting to the field. So tempo, remember.
Really good move.
And so this means that actually yellow is at only -2, and actually yellow is at +1 because I didn't notice this city over here on the farm. So this means that yellow has a 15-point farm rather than a 12-point farm. Actually, on this farm, he's still worth 12 points because this little black meeple over here is not connected, the black meeple on the left. So it still has these 3 points. And now definitely a move that yellow is considering is actually connecting this black meeple to the field and taking away 3 points from black's little field, and maybe 5 points for the monastery. So then if yellow were to do that, this would put yellow at, hold on, I think +6, but no meeples, +6 for a meeple. So the validity of this move depends on the tiles remaining, and we're just gonna let them count it out. I very much like the fact that there's only 4 minutes remaining for black and 7 minutes for yellow, so they're clearly thinking that now. Thank you everybody for pointing out certain things about the stream. I think I fixed them, and there are 5 minutes remaining to send in your predictions. If you remember to for a chance to win a signed copy of the Book of Carcassonne from Dan Chard, for example, and there you might learn something about road defense, or
if I can add, you mentioned that your favorite chapter was the sort of points from the past world champions, and I have to agree with you on that one. That was I was so glad to have the involvement from all of the other guys, from Marion Thomas, from Genro, from Takafumi, from Vladimir. I apologize if I've forgotten anybody, but yeah, they were really kind. They were generous in sparing me their time, answering my questions, and really giving us some good insight. So even if you're quite a good player already, I think it's certainly for me anyway, I would always be interested just in reading what those guys had to say.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I obviously agree with you because it's my interesting chapter. And while we talk about, there's a quote from, so the one Marian, there was also Marian Kurkan, who was there. And I like the quote from him, it really made me think differently. He said that basically that it's worth starting a game only if you're ready to give 100%. And I started thinking about it, and I think, yeah, really, because if I play too many games, then by the way, in the meantime, Red opted out of the move that I was suggesting, probably calculating the tiles and figuring out that actually he has a way to connect the black meeple to the field a little bit later, but we'll see that very, very soon. Yes, and now this is going to happen. Now definitely the black meeple is going into the field. Of course, yellow still need to think which side, to the right, to the left. Maybe there are some differences. Probably actually on the right, in order to prevent the opportunity from creating, in order to prevent an accidental 4-point road arising. So it's, but it's really thin. Let's just yellow think about this, and and after that, I actually started playing fewer games, but focusing a little bit more. And I think to grow as a player, it's more important to play qualitative games where you're really invested, rather than the games where sort of thinking, kind of clicking very fast.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely guilty of the latter, by the way. So because I usually play a lot when I'm in a bad mood or something. So if you see me, playing 20 arena games in a day, then probably, go play with me, because I'm probably not at my best at the moment. But I tried doing that a little bit less. So this and many other insights in Dan's The Book of Carcassonne. Alrighty. So Patrick is apparently watching the stream because Patrick chose to connect the black meeple to the yellow's field exactly the way that I suggested. Well, there were two ways, but that was one of them. And Rizamax just really need to find a good way to grab 4 points. There's a way to grab 4 points on his last move by taking the road below. It's actually hard to tell who's winning, but I think yellow might have it just by a little bit.
Yes, I haven't done the counting, but it looks to me, I mean, he's got +6 for the farms, hasn't he? Over black, they're tied on that city there, 2, 4, 6 there, and he's got 6, so we can ignore that as well. And this is his last meeple. I think it's going to be close, but I think that yellow has it.
It seems to me. I really like this connection over here, and the tempo and the roads. It works brilliantly. And actually, if yellow wins this, and I think yellow does, that would be an excellent achievement against 3 monasteries. That's really hard to come back against. And black made a really nice 9-point counterfield over here, and it looks like even that is not going to be enough. So that's actually shows you how to play these imbalanced positions. If your opponents get monasteries, you can't attack monasteries. You can block monasteries, but even then, if you block your opponent's monasteries, they still get the points. So what you can do, you can create compensation, and one of the ways is starting either a big city or a big field. The tiles were such that yellow was able to counterbalance black's monasteries by completing a couple of more cities and building a big field, and it looks like it was a 1-point difference.
Oh, it could have been 2. Yeah, I was wondering if it would have made an interesting puzzle, but I suppose he could have added that to the end of his road and then claimed the field, which is
exactly
by the road there.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
So yeah, close one.
Indeed. But yellow says that he actually counted that 3 is enough, and so maybe that's why he didn't notice that move. That was a fantastic game, actually. Shall we stay with this one maybe for a second? And by the way, yes, predictions are over. So most of you chose to bet on Germany, but well, the first game suggests slightly otherwise. We'll see. So the Dutch player managed to win his outrated opponent. So Dan, what's happening in other games? Because I know that you're watching several of them.
Well, I was. Oh, I can go through. So it looks as though Zwolleywood beat Lucci 77-63. I think Zwolleywood is an outstanding player. He's the current Dutch champion. So that result didn't surprise me entirely. I wasn't sure about Bexey against Rizamax. Bexey, I think I have a very bad record against him. He always seems to do exactly what he needs to do to get enough points to beat me. And I think he's second best at the he came second in the Dutch Championships, and he didn't have a very good time at the World Championships last year, but I know that he has done very well in the past. So yeah, he won that one obviously, and then it looks like John Norvik beat S. Werfel as well, so that's 3 games for them there. Yeah, Godfried van Boolen won as well. And so did Bellywan. So that's 5 games straight to the Dutch team, which the German team, I guess, will not be very happy about.
Well,
that's a very strong start from them. It might mean that we have nobody to send my book to, though.
Well, actually, yeah, that's true. I mean, probably then we're gonna do it like to the closest predictor, I guess.
Yeah.
So if somebody, let's say, said 4-1, then they get the advantage. But I think both predictions for Netherlands were 3-2. We just have to look at the number of games then.
Yeah.
So it's always going to go to the more accurate predictor. In the meantime, in the second game, we have a big city brewing. I love those positions.
Just do it now.
And yellow is about to go all in. Yellow is doing that. Yellow is absolutely doing that, giving 4.
Yeah.
No. Why? Meeple that. Why not? There were still 3 of those remaining. Like somebody like. Anyway, I'm not gonna like criticize or anything because yellow is obviously doing very well today.
It seemed like Black had created an opportunity there where he was just gonna curve a city tile in. And sometimes you're in the position where you do that, and then a splitter tile comes up, and it basically reverses the whole thing because it cuts you out and gives them an opportunity to cut in where you were planning on cutting in. So it did surprise me that there isn't a yellow meeple sitting on that bit there waiting to be joined in. I guess maybe he didn't want to risk it because he's got the road there as well. And for example, I don't know what Black is going to do with this tile. I guess he's thinking about putting it there, but it does advantage yellow a little bit in some way because that also means that his road then has an end to it. But if he doesn't, and if he's determined he's not going to, then yellow can just keep building his city ruin for as long as he needs to, and Black has literally just got 4 points sitting there.
Well, I in this case, well, 2 things to address. One, I think. No, I really think that's a mistake on yellow's part, like because it's just this move would be so impactful, and it was 88%. It's a lot of percent, and here you go, they have the tile.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you really think about this, like how you're not gonna take. I mean, so most good players like have a win rate of something like 70%, 75%. So how are you not taking an 87% opportunity against somebody who's like 200 points above you? Yeah, because like you still have to do like nothing in Carcassonne is guaranteed, right? And if you're gonna place a bet, then this is about the kind of bet you're gonna take. As opposed to Black, I do agree that it was correct from Black not to put the tile over here, because even though. So you interestingly you viewed this as a mini battle between the reds. No, red. Why I keep doing this? Yeah. So Dan, I don't think you were last stream, but basically like throughout the duration of the stream, everybody who was playing yellow, I was calling them red for some reason, and I just kept mixing the colors always. But anyway, yellow, Patrick, Bexay, Netherlands. We can do this. This player, who am I talking about? So about the mini battle between the Black city meeple and the yellow's city meeple. And in this mini battle, yellow would have had an advantage. However, I like to view it differently. I like to view it as a mini battle of the Black's meeple, of the Black 4-point city meeple, and the yellow's then 2-point meeple on the road. And there, Black had an advantage, so it actually was advantageous to keep that situation going. And this is exactly what Black did. Unfortunately for him, as expected, yellow ultimately drew the tile and puts it in himself. So still, we're going to have a tight battle for the city. It looks like there are no connection points, except for the connection points on the left. If somebody gets a triangle and tries to get really desperate and connect through the one and only remaining triple city with a road, or if somebody get a splitter tile like this and then puts it over here on the top on the right, and then just tries to snatch the city away. And actually, there's a third opportunity that Black might use, is just simply try to place a piece of city next to the city, next to his monastery, and then curve around with a couple of triangles. But I think the reason why Black didn't do this, and I completely agree with Black, is because this tile had a shield. And remember, shields are valuable. Shields are rare. There are only 10 shielded tiles and only 4 triangle shielded tiles, which means that if you don't have any other objective, you want to use them for your own unshared completable cities. So then you get 4 points from that tile. Probably it looks like black will be able to do this because this little 8-point city is hard to reach, and then black will be enjoying a slight advantage after this hard-fought, long, 25-tile long opening battle.
No, I think that's a good assessment of it. Like you say though, it would be interesting. The trouble with the splitter tiles is there's always some interesting purpose, and it's always really satisfying if you've got a meeple free and you can use it to get something into a tied city and take control of it. But there's almost always, maybe there's a little farm that you've got and you want to give yourself a chance of boosting it with 2 extra cities. It's some tiles you sometimes struggle to find a good use for them, but I think those splitter tiles are there's always something interesting you can do with them.
Absolutely, that's true. It's very rare that a splitter tile is useless. However, there are certain tiles that very often can be useless, and the job of a good player is to set up the game in such a way that you make sure that every possible tile, or most of the possible future tile, becomes useful to you somehow. So you guys may have noticed that I use sometimes the words like he took a tile away from him. By that I mean that player A made a potential future tile less valuable for player B. So if player B draws that tile, player B will not be able to extract much value from it. And imagine if you can make like half the deck useless for your opponent. Then your opponent will be more likely to draw tiles that are useless for them. And if you manage to make all tiles useful for you, make sure that you need different tiles to complete different features, that you don't rely on just one type of tile, then every move will just get a bit of something, and then it's just hard to catch up with you.
Well, it looks as though Godfried van Booyen has beaten Meeple Wizard 2-0.
Alrighty, so I guess the German master, who was maybe the favorite in that duel, because generally very strong. There was maybe a bit of an upset, although Gottfried's, I think, was also 700 at that point. Was also over 700 at that point. So maybe. Yeah.
Based on their current elos, I know current elo is not necessarily a reflection of true skill, but Meeple Wizard is over 100 points ahead of him. So an upset for the books, perhaps.
Yeah, indeed, it would be interesting what actually happened to that game. Meeple Wizard, of course, you might be familiar from his German streams, sometimes in English, sometimes with Dan, by the way. They happened last year in the World Championships, but he streams a lot in German. And also one other streamer is on the lineup, because very often Chris Meeple Wizard has the German player with the screen name Karabujan, who I think is his first name is Jörg. If I remember correctly, or was that somebody else? And so they talk both, and I really like how Karabujan comments as well. It has like a very peaceful voice in German. I don't know, like und jetzt Schwarz kann 5 Punkte für die Straße mitnehmen. He has like these very long words, and they're just so nice and soothing. I don't know, I'm not very good at impressions, but I just suggest that you watch some of their last year's streams in German, if you understand German.
I was quite soothed by that, actually, Alexey. Thank you.
Yeah, and then imagine that, but like slightly better. All right, team. Well, now Black has a massive advantage. We talked a little bit while Black was completing these cities. So you see, remember, the shielded tile over here, justified to use for your own completed city. And also, okay, now it really looks like it's going to be tied, because what Black can do is just block yellow's meeple completely, and then drop a field meeple.
Take a nice farm. Yeah.
And enjoy meeple advantage, because meeple advantage is most significant when there are big features on boards, such as huge cities or more often fields. And this field will be at least 9 points, probably at least 12, because yellow will complete his own city. And to properly capitalize on your meeple advantage, it's really the same as power play in ice hockey. I come from an ice hockey related country, so this analogy works for me. Maybe not for all of our viewers. Like, I think half of our viewers are now in the Western Hemisphere, in South America. So anyway, an ice hockey is a game where they like use pucks and sticks, and then it all happens on ice. And then sometimes a player can go to a penalty box. So instead of playing 5-on-5, they play 5-on-4. And I just find the analogy between a power play in hockey and a meeple advantage in Carcassonne. This analogy works pretty well, because all you gotta do is just make sure that you create a big field and have one meeple extra. And the fateful splitter tile came to Bexy, to yellow. So will yellow be able to connect to the city? More likely than not. However, black will likely attempt a block over here. We'll just see. I think black is thinking how exactly to rotate the curve. Do you rotate it with the road to the left or with the field side to the left? Calculating the remaining tiles and see the probabilities, and actually black decided just ignoring the whole thing. And so now the question is not whether yellow will be able to connect, but whether yellow will be able to complete. Yellow has gotten this city. Yellow has a massive advantage over there. The city is worth 10, 14, 15 points already, and probably will likely grow a couple of points more. So black needs to think how to either connect to the city or block it. The second one being more likely. If black gets a triangle tile, black can turn this tile like this. Imagine you put it over here. And then all the three triple cities with the road have already been out, so nothing fits over here. So it's possible to block it on move. However, black does not get that kind of tile. And ideally, black wants to finish his 6-point city and start a new one. However, it's also tempting to put this tile over here and kind of partially block this thing. However, I do think that this move is much better, but what do I know? Let's actually see what Dietmar does here with the black meeples.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of the triangle tiles out at the moment. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4 is all I can see. So I mean, potentially if he doesn't prioritize trying to block that city, then there's a good chance that a player like Bexy might be able to maximize his chances of completing it. So I would be very tempted to put it on the left, on top of that city road tile, which then leaves a city road, field road being needed. He's gone over there, which is nice. Maybe he thinks he can manage without it.
And just as you said, it was so yellow is super close to completing the city and turning this entire game around.
And Riesmax is going to be doing everything he can now, I assume, to make sure that he stops this city, because that will really turn things around.
Absolutely.
That's exciting.
And I can still see tiles that yellow has to complete. There are at least 2 starting tiles remaining. 1 city cap with the roads. And now yellow managed to cover up, so black needs to to keep chasing that city. At least you can manage to do it with extra value, so you take 3 points over here. Or you might complete your own road to block from above. So you actually need to figure out which one's better. Yeah, so goes for the value. I like it.
Yeah.
Now comes the fateful moment.
Ooh.
No, not that one. A tile that yellow would have liked to have just 1 move ago. So this is, that's why it's important to keep doing this. Now it's a bit of a dilemma. I guess you have to block there, but after black puts this tile over here, there's still going to be 1 more tile left to complete this city. There's still one more tile left, so it's a 50% chance. And now, of course, black will try to complete this block, or will he? Because this is also kind of important. I would maybe take the risk and complete my own city first on the left, considering even dropping some sort of field meeple. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit too early. Probably a little bit early. Although there is a chance how through a monastery of the road, like everything on the left over here connects into one gigantic field. I don't know. Or, Dan, would you maybe try to be extra safe and put this city, put this starting tile on top, just so that start the blocking process, the final blocking process as early as possible, so that yellow doesn't get these 50%?
Yeah, I think if he was going to extend his road, it feels like it would be quite easy for Bexay to defend it, just by pointing a road down into the gap and then waiting, hopefully, for his tile to come along. I think completing his city in the bottom left is probably more productive. And if it were me, bearing in mind that he'll get a meeple back, he can probably afford to drop a farmer in there with a chance that he may be able to get it onto the main farm as well. So yeah, I'm maybe getting carried away with myself, but I think my feeling would be certainly to complete that city, and to think about trying to use my meeple advantage to take over the farm as well.
I completely agree with you. I think there's no time for desperation yet. However, that was unfortunate, shall I say? Because I mean, this move was okay. But without a meeple, why do you... So what? Yellow is just going to plain simply block himself, but also block black. Block black.
Yeah, I guess. I suppose the advantage there was maybe he's thinking, well, if he gets maybe a city road tile and he wants to defend, he's going to point the road down. That would mean adding points to his city. But really, this is quite a good tile for yellow, because he can very easily just kill off it depends if he wants to kill his chances of completing that city. If he thinks that he's got enough points in there that he can still win the game, then I guess he's going to kill that black meeple. But maybe he's going to leave it and hope that an opportunity will come up where he can still finish it. I don't know.
Of course, this is just correct because of probability. Like, chances are, well, first of all, chances are like a 50% that you're not going to draw the completing tile anyway. And there's even a greater chance that black will manage to complete the block. So I think Dietmar here with a little misstep. I also like the prioritizing over here. Interesting point from Elias criticizing this move with the curve next to black's monastery, creating what they call an evil hamster in Mexico. So an evil hamster is a hole which can be filled with the monastery, instantly gaining 9 points. And I think the reason they call that is there was like a player with the screen name Evil Hamster who either won the Mexican championship because he got a lot of those, or just in general in one tournament got very lucky with these types of monasteries. And the reason why this maybe is not such a great move, because it creates a lot of variance. So whoever gets the monastery with the road gets an instant points, but variance favors the weaker side. And black was in the lead at the moment. And so for black, actually, it would be more advantageous to reduce point scoring opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. You know, whenever spaces like that appear, and one appeared in the last game as well. I love the idea of calling them an evil hamster. There was an evil hamster in the last game, and it represents. Maybe my maths is wrong, but it kind of feels to me like it represents something of an 18-point swing, because you're either going to get it and take 9 points, or your opponent is going to get it and take 9 points straight away. So I try to avoid those if I can.
That's a great way to think about it, because it's a swing both for you getting the points and the opponent not getting them, and vice versa. And you think an 18-point swing is huge. Like, imagine this 15-point farm that you did all the hard work for, like securing a field connection, then defending from a block, and then, well, bam, 50, and all this overshadowed by one 18-point coin flip.
And you're putting it completely down to 50% luck. Yeah, it's it's not what I would have gone with, I think. But that said, I probably would have done something worse.
Well, I doubt you can harm yourself so much with a curve. There's an interesting question about maybe the psychological aspect of Carcassonne for both of us. Raf from Belgium is asking, when you lose 100 or even 200 rating points due to several reasons such as bad luck, strong opponents, or lack of confidence, how do you recover from that?
I can confidently say, in my case, I haven't. It is very difficult. I think what you've got to remind yourself is that ELO is just a number. You're not a better or a worse player just because you've got an ELO of 500 rather than you've got an ELO of 650. It's more just a measure of who you've played recently, and what the outcome of those matches has been. So I think what you've got to remember is that if you're a player who can reach 650 at all, or 700 or whatever your goal is, then your current ELO doesn't change that. You can still get back up there if you make a point of trying it. Eventually things are going to swing back your way.
Yeah, I like this mindset about, ELO being just a number. I have a different mindset though, so I think that actually ELO is not just a number. I think it's really representative. Well, obviously partially of luck, but your average ELO, maybe over a course of time, is really representative of your strength, because that just really shows in a mathematical way how much you're winning and against whom. Now, these wins might be due to luck or skill, or both, or convenient opponents, or inconvenient opponents, or a variety of factors, but it definitely just shows how much you're winning. However, I don't worry about dropping ELO down too much, because I know that because it represents kind of your level, then on another day, basically the way this formula works, if you're at a lower ELO, you will start getting more ELO for victory. So it's actually easier to bounce back. For example, and it's much harder to maintain a very high ELO because you're just getting penalized extremely heavily for losses and not rewarded for victories. I've had many games where I won and got exactly 0 ELO points for victory. That does happen quite often, especially when you're playing arena games, maybe against somebody rated 300 or 200. Although, so I don't worry too much about falling down. Although there are a couple of aspects where ELO is a bit significant. I think having a high ELO can have a bit of a psychological impact. Sort of your opponents kind of, especially if they don't know you and if they haven't played you before, they start giving you a bit more credit. So I've played with somebody for the first time, and they had an opportunity to get, I think, a 7-point monastery or something, and they chose not to meeple a monastery. And I was just curious, kind of asking in the chat, why didn't you meeple a monastery? And they said, well, you have such a high ELO, I assumed you would be very good at blocking it, which is great. It's like such an, it basically gives you like an extra advantage because, it's a bit of a psychological thing. Another thing, I mean, other than that, ELO doesn't mean too much. However, for me, it's an indication whether I should continue playing or stop playing. So I typically, I don't like dropping below 700 a lot. And if I'm about to drop below 600, then I'm stopping the session like no matter what. So then this I know that it's definitely time to leave it for another day.
No, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I particularly like what you said about confidence. You know, if you're playing somebody who's got a very high elo, then you assume that they're going to be a very strong player, and you probably try to play safer against them, or you take people out of where they might feel comfortable, and it gives you that psychological advantage. So
Absolutely, and in Carcassonne, psychology is a lot. And then again, this is where your book helped. I hope I'm not like revealing too many spoilers, but Genro Fujimoto, the one of the two Japanese world champion, who I think was world champion in 2018, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah, 2018.
he actually perceives Carcassonne the same way as the chess player Emmanuel Lasker. Well, maybe some of you know, one of the second chess world champion in the 1920s, perceives chess as like psychological game, that you're not just playing tiles and probabilities, that you're playing against a human. And for him, he said that he would make different moves against different opponents, and he prefers over the board version of the game, because he can like look the opponent in the eye, and you can feel them and stuff like this. Well, Genro Fujimoto is also a professional poker player, or I think a semi-professional poker player, but like poker is important to him. So there's that aspect as well, and that's also made me look at the game differently, because it didn't even cross my mind that you could perceive Carcassonne that way.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot to it. I think when you look deeply enough for it, it's going back to the game. It was interesting to see that Bexay drew the cloister with the road and then didn't put it there. I suppose it would have been nice points for him, but at this point where Riesemax has got no meeples, he doesn't want to give a meeple back to him, so he's put it elsewhere. I kind of felt like the tiles were in favour of him making an opportunity to try and take the farm overall, or at least to tie it, because Riesemax now has two on there, and I think Bexay potentially would have had an opportunity to have got a second meeple on there instead. But he has got 7 points from a cloister. I don't know whether that's completable at this stage. I guess he probably has a better idea than I do. But it kind of it feels that with Riesemax having the farm, which is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, so 12 points, that almost outweighs the advantage that Bexay has with his city ruin. So I feel like this one is rapidly heading towards Riesemax, but obviously he is in trouble with no meeples, and with, I suppose there's 2 that he can potentially get back if he's able to end that road or complete that city. Yeah, maybe Bexay is going to be able to just keep chipping away at it and taking a few points. Oh, he's done his city.
It seems to me like it was planned, but now this changes everything. The meeple that comes back. I think I understood Bexay's plan a little bit. So his plan was, even though he expanded the field, which of course is like in the short term not ideal, he hoped that black would stay with meeples for a long time, that yellow pre-built this 7-point road, and I think there's still 2 road tiles remaining. 1 road tile remaining to actually complete this 7-point road. 6-point road rather. Yeah, like right over here next to the monastery. And then yellow was hoping that after all that he'd still have a meeple to spare, and then he'd connect to the field and equalize it. So it sounds like a definitely legit plan. Probably, as you can see, this plan includes the word "and" a lot. So it had a lot of conditions in it. Well, now I guess, I don't know what you do. Do you just drop a meeple on the field now and hope for the remaining straight line? Maybe that's the way to go? But black would still have a meeple to spare, and maybe the opportunity to just score some quick points and win. Because it seems to me that, so there's a 15-point difference and on the scoreboard, and if let's say yellow manages to equalize this field, which I think he has to, he'll have a monastery and a sizable city ruin of, I think 17 points or something. Yeah, 17 points exactly.
And
this might be like almost enough.
I suppose if he does respond by putting this on the left where there's two cities and hoping for a straight road, then Riesemax can very easily respond if he has anything that's got a road side to it by claiming on the other side, knowing that if the road piece then goes in, then it adds his meeple as well, so he still has control of the farm. But of course, the farm becomes bigger. So, yeah.
Already, we have interesting news. So we're just hearing from Steven here that Netherlands already won 3-0 against Germany. So here we have the upset, and most predictions are wrong. Only Nico, thanks for his love of the Dutch language. And who was the? And I think Glovier was the other one who predicted to go against the stream. Managed. So it's now going to be between both of you, and I guess in order to make your prediction completely accurate, you're going to have to root for Germany now. So it's not 5-0, but 3-2, exactly as you said. All right, let's see. Going back to like psychological stuff, Gabor is saying if you have psychological issues, assuming that like if you're afraid of your opponent having a high elo, you can never become a really great player. No, I think it's fine. I think all you have to do is just overcome those psychological issues, and then you just win a strong player once, and then you realize that it's actually possible, and then you start working on the game and so on. Willem is saying that I got a low elo, which works in my favor because people don't expect a difficult game and then they underestimate me and then they get a difficult game. That actually also works as well, and that has happened. And I've been on the wrong side of that when I was playing arena games, and I assumed that the player was lower rated automatically, and then I just lost some games because I wasn't careful enough.
It's usually a fair assumption for you to assume that the other player is going to be lower rated.
Well, I think yeah, probably because like everybody who's actually higher rated, I just happen to know their screen name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also for me, like it's maybe revealing a little bit too much, but I kind of play a little bit differently depending on, let's say, if my play is rated 300 or 500. It's not so much about like whether they're better or worse. It's about what kind of moves I expect a player with this rating to play. So, for example, I know that a player who's rated 500 is more likely to block a lot than a player who's rated 300. And so then, if I'm playing a player who is rated 300, maybe I'm a little bit more ambitious and risky with the way I place my meeples. So,
or you've got a better idea of perhaps the probability of what things might work out, or of, you know, if you're playing against somebody who isn't necessarily thinking of safety in mind, then they might give you lots of opportunities to trap them. So typically your score is going to be lower, but theirs is going to be even lower than yours.
Yep. Indeed, that's completely true. In the meantime, two other things. I see we have a lot of viewers, but I only have 5 likes, so do click that. Do place a meeple on the like button. Yes, meeple the like button, because it's important for the algorithm, so that so that you know somebody can discover about competitive Carcassonne. Just browsing YouTube, looking at board games, and then realizing that there's this World Championship. And there's live commentary. Oh yes, I see those likes coming. Great, keep them going, keep them going. It is important.
So I'm guessing that if this goes to Riesemax, then potentially they're still going to have something to settle their duel, even though the match has already been won by the Dutch team. So it's interesting to know what's going to happen here. I really struggle. I think playing with 22.5 minutes per player, it means that they have a certain amount more thinking time than in previous editions. So I think some people certainly like to use it more than others. And at this stage, I imagine that Bexe is probably doing a final count, so he knows what tiles are left in the the remaining 6 or 7 tiles.
That's probably, I mean, I can't imagine what else he'd be using this time for, and probably really debating whether it's worth placing a meeple on that 6-point field below and then hoping to connect. Let me just recount the roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yes, indeed, as I said before, there is one road left over there. Yes. Really? I don't quite get that move or what it accomplishes. Oh, misclick. Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Ouch.
I guess he was deliberating and then placed it over here. Well, those do happen sometimes. That's one of the, let's say, disadvantages of online Carcassonne, because obviously you can't misclick in real life. Yes, Patrick, we know you probably didn't want to place it there. And now what Black is going to do to cement the victory is, of course, place a meeple over here with 6 points. You know why? Because if there is a point from which your opponent can attack your field, you can just place there yourself. So Black, instead of taking a 6-point field, prefers a 5-point monastery, exhibiting very interesting arithmetics over here that maybe because apparently 5 is more than 6 in Black's arithmetics, but that's okay. Maybe he's just feeling a bit of solidarity, and feel sorry for Yellow's misclick. Well, Yellow's gonna take advantage and just drop that field meeple for 6 points, because how else are you gonna win the game? Unless I'm miscounting the tiles, but I don't think I am.
Yeah, I would have thought that as much as anything else, it would have been about denying your opponent the opportunity to fight back for the farm. It's if he draws the straight road and doesn't connect, then he has an additional 6 points. If he feels threatened by it, then he can have 3 against 1 there on a 6-city farm. It surprises me that he would go there for the cloister, but maybe he's worked it all out in his head and perhaps it doesn't matter to him so much.
Maybe. But now I can see only one move for Yellow, really, just going for that coin flip. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, and then we will max go.
Yellow kind of deserved it, I have to say. I think that would have been fair. But you know what? There's no fairness in Carcassonne. I mean, there is in the long run, because I'm one of those people, I don't believe in luck. There's no luck in Carcassonne. There's only variance. I know tons of, everybody will now disagree with me. And also, I follow through. When I lose because of luck, I don't complain about luck. I discourage everybody from complaining about luck.
I have stopped saying good luck to my opponents at the start of a game because, I don't mean it.
That's true. Yeah, I'm trying to be honest.
I enjoy the game, but I never wish my opponents good luck.
Yeah, so you can say, interesting. So, for most of us, we say good game after the game, but Brazilians say good game or bom jogo before the game. I assume they meant I wish you to have a good game. And I really like that. I think this should be, other countries should adopt this as well. Or some players have fun, but especially at a competition, to me, have fun is code for I do not wish you good luck. Alrighty,
so the three wins that have so far gone to the Netherlands are from Zwolle, who wins 2-0 over Lucci, and to John Nordrich, who wins 2-0 over S. Werfel, and to Godfried van Boolen, who wins 2-0 over Meeple Wizard, I believe. And I think the duel number 5 between Belly Wan and what is the German player's name? Karabujan has gone to a decider, so they are playing that at the moment.
Yeah, so it looks like it's been settled.
Yeah.
We are, of course, congratulating Team Netherlands, but tiebreakers matter, so these duels still matters. Like losing 2-3 is much better than losing 0-5, or so I tell myself as the captain of the team that lost 2 matches 2-3 in decider games. Yeah, but interesting. So Yellow mentions here that the field would have been enough for him, and actually that's true, because the difference is 9 points, and with this move, Yellow from being 6, so what? It's a 15-point farm, and here's a no.
It was not an 18-point. Oh no, it was because
was
one
15.
of them was on it until it was connected.
So it would have been tied actually. Yeah, so it would have been tied.
Yeah.
So Black over here, let's say, trying to lose very actively with this monastery, but it still worked out for them. So we're gonna congratulate Dietmar for this game and Team Netherlands for the match in general. So we have an option now. I was not aware that another match was being played, but apparently there is also Czech-Hungary. Somebody's saying, or Hungary, Czech Republic 2-1. Shall we watch the remaining games of this match, or shall we watch something from Hungary, Czech Republic where the fate has not been decided? Oh, hi! Here's we're having Chris Meeple Wizard. So as long as there are random mechanics in the game, sure, luck exists. Well, in that sense, yes, but I like to call it not luck but variance. I think it's like a mindset question. Well, one luck-related video on his channel, which is also, there's a link to Chris's channel in the description of my channel. He has a video which is called Carcassonne in a Nutshell, which has something to do with luck in Carcassonne. So it's only 2 minutes long. I recommend you go watch it because it's quite entertaining. So Limberman is suggesting let's finish watching Riesemax. Anybody else? How do you feel about that, Dan? Shall we?
Well, we know that they are both great players and they've given us 2 wonderful games so far. But I'm happy to vary it a little bit and look at some different players, maybe taking some different styles, and have a think about people who may prioritize differently. So yeah, I'm all for looking at a different match just for variance.
Alrighty, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna of course follow our guest recommendations. Oh, so many interesting. So Ruben Kosic is playing Jakub Hertel, which is like already a huge match. I don't know the player. CZ playing Marty Party, then Martin Mojžiš against King Domino. Those look pretty good. Also, Josef Tichon, I forgot Josef's last name, but basically Siegfried against Martin Boresh. Do you see the lineups now? Whom do you prefer? And maybe some of them are already over.
I know that Siegfried, he's a good friend of mine from Carcassonne Central. Josef Tichon, I think is his surname, and he is an outstanding player. But he likes to make sure that he uses all of his time. So if we're watching him, then there's that to think about. But I'm just going to the lineups now to get the names of the other players, because when you read them out just now, it sounded a bit like you were sneezing or something. So
that's just the Czech language for you. It has a lot of sh sounds. Martin Mojžiš.
Yeah.
Mojžiš.
Marty Party Ouija. Yeah, there's some great names there for sure. You choose, Alexey, and I will be happy to watch any of them.
So our audience actually already chose. So everybody seemed to be very keen on watching Ruben Kocic Mosopol versus Kuba Hertel CZ because Siegfried. Well, we'll get to watch Siegfried a little bit later, but they're playing their decider game, and there's only a couple of tiles remaining, so we can comment on that a little bit.
Just finding my way to it now.
Well, it looks like Hungary is gonna get the match point over here because, maybe. Actually, it's gonna be pretty close, but still with a match point for Hungary, I think. So there are 3 blue meeples on the main field. There are 3 yellow meeples on the main field, so that's tied. But blue has extra 19 points for on the scoreboard, which are almost compensated by the 2 monasteries of yellow. But green has green. Why did I do that again? I mean, you're probably not surprised. Blue has an extra meeple on a 6-point field, which, depending on the tile remaining, has a non-zero chance of being connected to the main field. Nope, I take that back. It's a 0 chance of being connected to the main field, but still 6 points are pretty good. And it seems to me that if nothing significant happens, based on the fact that yellow doesn't have any more meeples to use, blue is just going to edge it out, even without taking over the field outright. Just grab 4 points or take a road, and this should be enough for Ruben over here. Well, that would be a bit of some form of consolation for Hungary, which started the tournament with 2 narrow losses against Belgium and I think against Catalonia.
I'm not sure what the results are. I've got them.
Maybe not Catalonia. Against Belgium for sure. I just forgot what the first match was.
So we are looking now at group. This is Group D, isn't it? Yeah. So Hungary lost to Belgium and Catalonia.
Yeah, Gabor and Nico confirmed already. Thank you.
Okay. And Czech Republic
lost against Catalonia. Because we saw that match on stream.
Yeah. And they beat Hong Kong. So I guess that Hungary are probably wanting to prove something now.
And also to preserve mathematical chances of advancing.
Yes. That's always nice as well.
No. I think Hungary is really, to me, the strongest team that didn't manage to make it to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, there's looking through the lineups, it feels like there is a lot of very strong players in that team. I guess that was he realizes that was the last. Oh, there was that one as well.
No, but I'm curious, why did he need that? Did I miscount the number of meeples somehow? I don't think I did.
What is it? So it's 1, 2, 3 against. Sorry, it's 4 against 3.
Well, now it's 4 against 3, but it didn't have to be. I think just Blue saw that he was already winning, and he wanted to just demoralize their opponents and take over the farm as well. So in certain situations, this backfires, and we saw it already twice on stream. Once last year for Japan versus Czechia, and recently for, I think, Hungary Catalonia. Actually, yeah, that's how the match was. So basically, I think the Hungarian player, or Czechia Catalonia. I keep forgetting. Sorry, guys. I think it was basically there was one player who was leading by a lot. And then he also decided that he needs the farm as well. And he didn't manage to connect, and then lost to a couple of points, when all he had to do was just score a couple of quick points here and there and guarantee a victory. And the defending side was The Catalonian played with a screen name Casumlola, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, it's somewhere. So go watch the previous streams of the previous rounds, and you're gonna see this game. So it looks like it's 3-1 for Czechia, 3-1 for Hungary, and 3-1 for whom? For Netherlands. So I guess let's have a look at one of the remaining games. So do you prefer Siegfried from Hungary, or do you prefer going back to Riesemax?
I must say I was enjoying watching Riesemax and Bexay, because they are both very strong players. But there again, so is Siegfried, and I can't even pronounce the guy he's playing. Yeah, why don't we go back to Riesemax versus Bexay?
Because they still have a lot of games left, and they will definitely provide us with some entertaining Carcassonne.
Mm-hmm. We used to we had a competition which we used to run at Carcassonne Central. We had our World Cup of Carcassonne Central, and you mentioned your colleague Mr. Numbers earlier on. We both ended up in the final of our competition, and the slight difference there was that we didn't play on Board Game Arena. We played on an implementation of Carcassonne called J Cloister Zone. And part of the reason for that was that it included lots of expansions. So typically we'd play our competitions with, 10, maybe 12 different expansions. And Mr. Numbers and I had a game that just seemed to go on forever. And he won it in the end, sort of confidently. But Siegfried was the player who had won it the previous year. So he had to send our trophy on to Mr. Numbers. And I think he's still got it. So maybe we need to reinvent that competition just to get an excuse to get that trophy back off him.
Sounds like a plan. Now I think we can gradually start making sense of this position, because there's still 50 tiles remaining. We're kind of not past the opening stage yet. In the sense that not everything has been decided, so there's still one sensitive point over here. Mm-hmm. There's also a city that Yellow decided to build with 2 meeples, which is a bit of an unorthodox move. Now Black is indirectly building his city, because he has this 1-point city over here, but it will likely connect to a larger city, and he doesn't want to invest a second meeple just yet. Assume he has his reasons. However, there is a scenario how Yellow can take a city cap, grab this huge city, then maybe take a divider and just shoo the Black meeple away, and somehow score this juicy, 14-point city or something. Or another one, Yellow takes a city cap, snatches the city, and then gets this one of the 2 remaining triple city with the road tiles, and connects everything into a huge ruin, and then just eats up this Black meeple and enjoys a large 20-point city, which is going to outscore any fields that are to rise in this game due to the closed nature of the position. So of course Black is trying to prevent this, almost completing his city. He just really wants to connect, still not quite there.
It's incredibly frustrating. There's this city there, and I imagine he probably wants a chance to claim part of it, but neither of them seem to be getting the tiles to get into it. Have you ever found yourself in the situation where you are trying to get a second meeple into a city, and then you realize that you actually haven't even claimed it the first time round?
Yeah, sometimes this happens. I mean, of course, in tournament games, I try to be attentive. Oh, there we go. So probably I would expect. Oh, it's such an interesting situation that yellow is either claiming this big city, which I think is important because there's just so many
Yeah.
points. But yellow also needs this tile elsewhere. Also, yellow needs to resolve these two meeples over here. Like something has to happen. So it seems to me, so yellow is in a position where he needs the same tile for different things. I would say that grabbing the city is a priority. But Dan, what would you do? Would you do the same thing as yellow did, grabbing 7 points, or would you first of all resolve the situation with your two meeples stranded there on the left?
It's difficult to predict. I think I probably would have wanted to have done what you suggested, where if he could have got one of the city road tiles, then he could have joined the whole thing together. So I might have been tempted to have taken that city where he's got 3 points with his first of the yellow meeples. I might have put the city there and faced it over sort of eastwards, so that it would have to join to that block there, and then hope that I would join my second one in as well and take the whole ruin over.
So
Was, I'm saying that mostly because it was your idea, so you're not allowed.
yeah. Well, that's true, but my idea was getting the getting the needed tile first and then connecting. But no, I actually like that as well. Yeah, why not?
I mean, it probably by that stage was unlikely that it's going to be completed. But if he's got 3 against 1 potentially, then it's still going to be very difficult for black to try and fight back against. Bexy finds himself in a difficult position with meeples, and maybe his city ruin isn't going to be enough for him to take the game. That's assuming it's successful. Maybe he just wants to try and get that city of his where he's got 2 meeples completed. So he's perhaps thinking about that at the moment. But yeah, I probably would have been in favour of going for a giant ruin, and just trying to make that as valuable as possible.
Yeah, I get that. So I think it just comes down to what the probabilities actually are. So the thing with the big ruin is that, well, there are only 2 tiles remaining, which means that there's a 25% chance that they won't come at all. So you're kind of already accepting 25% of a loss. I'm not sure if I'm okay with that. Plus, there's also blocking opportunities in addition to that. I'm not sure how this translates to percentages, but I would expect that maybe it would be like something half and half. And it also creates blocking opportunities in multiple places. But it's definitely something worth considering. And I'm going to give a maxim, share a maxim that I follow, is if you're choosing between multiple moves and you're not sure, choose the one that gives more points. In this moment, this was a move that instantly gave yellow 7 points. Like just taking 7 points with one move just cannot be a mistake. Maybe it's not the most brilliant, maybe there was something better, but that just can't be a bad move. So now, by the way, there was an interesting comment, guys, that so from the chat we have, I think it was Raf who wasn't quite sure why exactly black was taking the 2 points with the monastery over here, attacking his own city. I think I know the idea here is that maybe black was hoping to block 2 meeples versus 1, so that black would have only 1 meeple trapped, but yellow would have 2 meeples trapped. However, I think that this block favors yellow, not black, because even though yellow would have 2 meeples trapped, he would have in this knot 15 versus 1 advantage. So 1 point for black over here, 8 for yellow's monastery, 7 for yellow city, an opportunity to expand. So this means you have an advantage of 14 points for the price of 1 meeple. It's like a 5. It's like an uncontested 5. It's like an uncontested farm with 5 cities. It's just huge. And what we see now happens. So very interesting sequence. So yellow kind of saved up the connection a little bit, which, by the way, I wouldn't have done. Like, I would have, if I were yellow, I would have blocked this spot myself just to have this 14 versus 1 mini battle. Like, at this stage of the game, I think points are kind of more important than meeples, really. And yellow didn't put a meeple over here, but black sort of called yellow's bluff. You know, you're not going to fight for a city. I'm going to fight for the city. I'm going to sacrifice 2 meeples with really with a 25% chance of just losing the game outright, but with a 75% chance of actually scooping up this city. With not many opportunities to reconnect, it is still possible to do something on the left, but it's this opportunity is dwindling. So black is 1 city cap away from covering up his city on the left, and there are plenty of city caps remaining. And this will basically give black just 75% chance of outright victory. Everything's going to come down to this city, and in this city black has now the better probabilities.
Yeah, I think in that situation it feels like a bit of a gamble, but if it pays off, then obviously it's hugely significant. So I think if I had been Bexy, then I probably would have added that city field tile that he had to the bottom of the city where he wants that cap to go, purely just to make sure, you know, I would be suspecting that he was going to draw a cap with his next tile and he was just going to drop it on there, and then I'd be waiting for him to complete it. So I would have been wanting to make it as uncompletable as possible. Oh, yeah. He's got the exact 2 tiles he needs almost immediately.
Oh, so, yeah.
Alexey is going to be worrying about that now. Yeah. But he's also done nicely with his city over there on the left.
Indeed. Ooh. And what do you do now? I mean, okay, actually, there's only one correct option. Yes, only this. Yeah. You just cannot allow this city. You just cannot. You don't have a right. But then you see, so yellow is constantly in a position of needing the tiles everywhere because he really wanted to complete his city as well. But now, yes, exactly. Black isn't even going to continue his role. Black is going to block. Well, at least yellow managed to equalize, but at what cost? He's about to lose his 2 meeples over here because Max is going to block them and leave only 1 tile remaining to complete them, which is already only a 50% chance. And if you're losing 2 meeples with a 50% chance, the expected value is it's the same as losing 1 meeple with a 100% chance.
Yeah, that was a really interesting sequence there.
Yeah, by the way, so of course the timing was very fortunate, but for anybody who might be thinking that black was somehow lucky there, not really. It's sort of for each of these tiles, the expectation was black was much more likely to get those tiles than red. So it's just maybe it can seem lucky to maybe somebody who's not that experienced, but that's sort of black did everything to set up this opportunity, and if anything, yellow got lucky that he managed to snatch this city back on time. Oh, I love this game. It's so instructive. I think it's really illustrates the principle of needing the same tile for the same thing, for needing the same tile everywhere, and just the drawbacks of that. So it looks like yeah, yellow is really chasing here. Now, this game is pretty dynamic, so let me just see what are you guys writing in the chat. Okay, I'm using red again, yeah? Yes, that's true, that's very nice. That black is, yes, definitely more likely than red to draw everything, because red is not going to draw nothing. Just, sorry guys, I just don't have the word yellow in my lexicon anymore, even though, again, I'm the one playing constantly with the yellow meeples. So, let's maybe just take a bit of a distraction from this heated game and talk about some other couple of things, because I'm going to just scroll up and see some interesting questions to you, Dan, and maybe also to myself. Just a reminder that there are 2 contenders left, Nico and Glovier, for the Book of Carcassonne. We're just going to see how many exactly games will be won by each side. And also, I need to remind you guys about the other giveaway, the ongoing one, because I am at the end of the championship. I'm giving away the 20-year anniversary edition of Carcassonne to the best predictor of the overall championship outcome. So last week we already had some predictions going, and people don't seem to bet on Latvia that much, unfortunately, but well, I hope to surprise everybody. We'll see. Yeah, so remember, to do that, you gotta predict either on this stream or in any comment on any of my videos by June 19th, or by the end of the group stage, not only the first place, but for the purpose of tiebreakers, the second, third, and fourth place. And also, the earlier you make your prediction, that's also another tiebreaker. So in the unlikely event that 2 predictors, 2 viewers, sorry, why did I lose my train of thought? Yeah, so basically, if 2 predictors like predict the same thing, then whoever predicts earliest wins. But probably really it matters the first, second, third, and fourth place. So yeah, feel free to do so. Okay, so in the meantime, I think Yellow is still thinking on this move. I'm so thankful for them to giving us time to actually comment on stuff. I was about to say that Yellow had the excellent chance of placing this triple city tile over here, finishing his own road and making it harder for Black to continue his own city, leaving some blocking opportunities. Well, now it looks like Black will be having a much easier time in winning this game. Actually, I just, well, you never know, right? But Yellow would need quite a significant number of things to go their way in order to win. You know, Yellow would need to block this monastery. Yellow would need to finish the road. But I think
he did well to tie that city. It would have been game over if he hadn't done that. But what that cost him was his 2 meeples that he then didn't get back because he didn't have the chance to fight for them and do what needed to be done to keep them alive. So he's kind of paid the price for it a little bit, unfortunately.
Oh yes, that's true indeed. And now Black is about to complete his city. Also snatches a nice 6-point city over here that he can develop. Looks hard and rhymes with Chard. I don't know why I thought about that. Yeah, probably if I were Black, given the advantage, I would just make sure to equalize the city immediately if there's still triangles left in the game, just so that Red, I did this again, Yellow completes this city. You know what? I like whoever can count up the number of times I said red on the stream, I'm giving another copy of the 20-year edition of Carcassonne. And speaking of giving stuff up, giving stuff away, Limbo Man is asking, can we also get the book from Dan for all the people like me? The stream in a random draw.
Sorry?
Can we also get the book from Dan for all the people that like me? The stream in a random draw. I think they're...
It sounds like I'm going to be giving a lot of books away.
Well, it's really up to you. I think so far we've so we discussed this. Dan with agreed on one, so that there's some kind of competition.
But based on the book, sorry, not the book. The Carcassonne 20th edition is a wonderful prize as well. That's worth pointing out. it's new last year, isn't it? And I think what makes it different is it has a couple of mini expansions in it, and the tiles have a kind of gloss on them, which is a lot of people are very fond of it. I think HIG seem to, and well, publishers around the world seem to keep on creating different versions of Carcassonne, and for people who try to collect them all, it can be frustrating and expensive. But what you see them doing, and doing very well, is they are always introducing new players to Carcassonne. You know, it's very easy to think that they're just trying to get money out of the people who will buy everything regardless of what it is, but they are very good at, even for a game that's 20 years old, finding new people who haven't played Carcassonne before but who are keen to give it a go.
It is very nice of them indeed. It is I find this approach quite valuable. Oh, so Limboman is saying like a random draw from everybody who liked the stream. Actually, I love this idea. It's for some point in the future. I think I'll think of something to give away that, using this formula as well. But for today, I'm probably gonna still ask you to like the stream just for the sake of it, for the algorithm I see. So keep those likes coming, and I also have new giveaways on my list as well. I kind of ordered some stuff. Oh, Nico is so nice. Nico is saying that actually he already owns a copy, and so he's planning to donate it to the prize fund of the upcoming Belgian Championship, so that somebody could win your book.
Excellent. It's always good to see things going to a good home.
Right, well, this looks like Germany is at least going to get 1 match point in this game, because lots of monasteries with meeples. Meeples on monasteries is good because that gives lots of points. In one of the chapters in Dan's book, there's a little diagram that says, draw a tile. Is this a monastery? If yes, then rejoice, I think. If not, be sad and continue, or something like that. Basically,
it was supposed to be it was just a little sort of joke thing that I made, and I hadn't really intended that it would go into the final version of the book. But yeah, we decided that it was worth adding in, because I think a lot of people, it's if you don't necessarily understand the dynamics of Carcassonne, then it's very easy to look at the luck side of it and think that it's all just about, oh well, you get lots of points for these church things, so surely whoever draws most of those is going to win. But what you often see with sort of top level players is that a lot of the cloisters that they draw, they don't even claim a lot of the time, just because there is another use for them, and those points aren't worthwhile to them because of the associated risk that they're going to end up losing a meeple.
Actually, I think I have to disagree with you on that last one. Because to the best of my knowledge, like, I think every single player whom I know who's above 700 likes meepling monasteries.
Okay.
And there are many players who kind of like to use in the early stages of the game monasteries as patches of green for fields, which sometimes is justified depending on the position. But this is not that common for the very, very top, especially if you look at the Japanese players. They will do anything to get those monasteries going. I mean, especially in the start of the game. In the middle of the game, it depends. As you see, it always depends. But I think Vladimir Kovalev, when he was streaming a game between between Ralph Kvefoot and Melvin Quaresma, so Germany against Brazil last year, Ralph used back-to-back 2 monasteries at patches of green, and Vladimir jokingly called it blasphemy.
Well, in that case, I will gladly stand corrected.
But
Oh,
of course, with the caveat that everything depends, and yes, there are situations where you need to do something else with monasteries and not meeple them. And actually, I should be maybe slightly better at recognizing these situations. So it's note to self.
well, and also I suppose in this case, Riza Max has got 8, 16, and then 6 more. So he's got over 22 points coming from his cloisters in end game, which is a nice sort of safety margin. But at the same time, that's cost him 3 meeples for most of the game. And although there weren't really any features that were hotly contested towards the end of the game, if there had been a farm that they were fighting over, then it represents an advantage to Bexay that he has more meeples available to him to play for it.
Yeah, that's true indeed. So there's always a price to pay in meeples. On the other hand,
Yeah.
when deciding whether to meeple something, whether to meeple a field, whether to save or whether to conserve or whether to invest a meeple, you gotta ask yourself, what am I gonna need those meeples for in the future? Because the thing is, early in the game, you don't want to invest all your meeples in like little roads or cities because
Mm.
all the monastery tiles are still remaining. You want to have meeples so that you can meeple monasteries basically. Once all the monasteries are out, well, maybe it's less matter. It doesn't matter that much. And another thing, of course, you want to be able to invest meeples into fields. You kind of need to look at the board, see what features are there that I'm gonna have to claim later, and then
Mm.
preserve meeples for them. And sometimes it very often happens that all the 6 monasteries are discarded quite early. There are no big features, and you might as well just start investing meeples extremely generously, just because there won't be anything to invest them into 10 tiles from now.
Mm. Yeah, true. Very true.
So now I'm just scrolling up the chat to see who was more precise out of the two courageous viewers who, contrary to the odds, bets on Netherlands rather than Germany. In the meantime, I see an interesting question, I guess, for us both. Dan, have you
Mm.
ever played, or at least considered playing, another board game competitively?
Um, Not really, to be honest. I mean, I think there are other games that I play, but I feel very differently about Carcassonne than I do any of the others. I like to play King Domino sometimes. I like to play one that I've started recently called Draftosaurus. And there's various card games that I play with my friends. But I think generally every game apart from Carcassonne, I tend to play very casually, and it's literally just for fun. And whereas I still play Carcassonne for fun, the fun comes from playing, really thinking about it, counting the tiles in my head, and really making sure that I'm giving the best game that I possibly can with the tiles that I'm given. So I don't think I could really ever play anything else, especially competitively. I think there's only really room in my heart for Carcassonne.
I have to second your answer. For me, it's the same thing. I'd rather be good at one thing, really, rather than sort of semi-good at multiple things. So, like, seriously, I've studied only Carcassonne. That said, I have participated in Catan tournaments because they're just lots of fun. I studied it a little bit, and I also watched the YouTube channel Delighted, like with the Catan strategy. But I haven't studied it in depth enough and haven't had the commitment to actually try to reach any top levels. So I do that occasionally. I enjoy it, but Carcassonne's really the main game. I also play chess competitively, but I'm not sure if when you mean board game, probably you mean like Euro game, European style board game. So chess, I guess, wouldn't count. And I would have played Citadels competitively if that were a thing.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
I do enjoy Citadels actually with the right people.
Oh yes, indeed, and also with the right number of players, because I think
Yeah.
it's good with 5, not so good with 3. It's great with 2, with the alternative rules that my friend and I invented that actually allows one-to-one competitive plays. It's just absolutely.
Okay.
Well, if you have a Citadel at home, maybe at some point I can, I can show you what you mean and we can try out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's again, it's not something that I'm especially good at, but it's a game that I enjoy playing.
Oh, yeah. So that's great that we have even further common ground. By the way, I just scrolled up and it looks like by 1 point, Glovier is the one who won your book because he predicted 7-5 versus Nico, who predicted 7-7 when in terms of the game one. So yeah, please contact either me or Dan or both of us on board. I guess probably better to contact Dan directly, right? If you can do
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Good anticipation of the results. I'm terrible at guessing who's going to win, as we know from previous streams. But yeah, that's impressive.
So that's why I'm also not particularly good at that. So I just tried to stay silent and I didn't say. Yeah, I knew Netherlands would win exactly 4-1, and that's there would be those upsets. By the way, oh hi, here we have the winner. Well, one of the winners, Patrick in the chat. Yeah, by the way, Patrick, thanks for taking your time because you allowed us both to comment on the position, actually talk about all kind of other stuff. I think it went quite smoothly. Yeah, Glovier, so if you can drop us a message on Board Game Arena, or if not, or if you're not on Board Game Arena, which I wouldn't expect, I would expect you to be there, then we can sort something over email perhaps. You can go to my channel and see the address there. Alrighty, probably it's gonna be some time to wrap up. We only caught a glimpse of the other match of Hungary versus Catalonia. Was that Catalonia? Sorry, I Czechia, yes. Hungary,
Yeah.
Czechia, where Hungary probably pulled another upset and won against the team that is the world champion and having the most Martins. Marty Party, Martin Mojžiš, Martin Boresh.
It's a good goal to go for.
Oh, and Siegfried Bormar still playing. Actually, Siegfried Bormar is still playing. I don't know. Are you guys tired, or do you want actually to look at that game as well?
I don't mind having a quick look at it.
I mean, why not?
I don't know whether my children will have sent themselves to bed. They probably invited their friends around. They're having some sort of party, but I can't hear any loud music. So yeah, let's watch that.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be too long because we're definitely not going to break the record. When last stream we watched 3 matches and it lasted exactly 3 hours. But it looks like we're up for something special on Sunday, by the way, because there will be 3 back-to-back matches. So Sunday morning, Sunday European morning, Sunday early Western Hemisphere morning, and Sunday early evening Asia.
So you're going to be streaming all day?
Well, half the day really. Yeah, and also we're playing on Saturday. Latvia's playing, and you can watch Raf Mesotin stream in English. All the links will be on Carcassonne.cat website. Well,
a
yep.
big match for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We will do our best. Let's say we'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. Yeah, thank you everybody for your kind words. It's also very much appreciated. Whilst we're watching the last few tiles of Siegfried between Bormar, which appears to be quite close on the scoreboard at the very least, but we'll dive into it in a second. Maybe if you have some final question for our special guest Dan Chard, then please let us know. If not, then I also got to remind you that the 20-year edition Carcassonne will be shipped to the address of your choosing if you're the best at predicting the outcome of the whole championship. So Martin Boresh grabbed the 6-point field, assuming some way of connecting to the main field, and the main field is worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18 points. Did I get that right, Dan?
I see 6 cities on it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was. They're tied on a lot of different things at the moment, so yeah, I wasn't sure if he was claiming that with an intention of joining up to the main field, or he just wanted to stop Siegfried from taking those 6 points. But yes, it is. It's a very close game.
Indeed. I mean, it looks like just red might have it by virtue of the scoreboard. However, there was maybe an outside way for green to connect on the right somehow, but now there will be simply not enough tiles for this.
It looks to me as though Bormar has a 1, 2, 3 city farm to himself, and he's also now got that 2 city farm, so that is 15 points that he's getting from those. Red also has 2 of his own, so I think it's going to be close, especially since green also has those 6 points where he's just stacked them on top of each other at the top. Yeah, struggling to call this one at the moment. But the good thing is that there is at least a red player and a green player, so you won't have to worry too much about calling them by the wrong colours.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, here's an important factor. Red had an incomplete city. And the tile that still worked. I just assumed that so late in the game there was no one left, but this one clearly goes to Siegfried on this occasion. Well, so does this mean that Hungary wins 3-2 in this match?
I haven't followed what the other scores were, but
so last time I checked from the chat, it was 2-1. And then we witnessed Mosopol winning, so it must have become 3-1.
Yeah.
Right. I'm at it anyway. I'm gonna trust you guys. I'm gonna assume that was the case. So Magyar Ország and
you remember what I said earlier on about how Siegfried likes to use his time. He's got 20 seconds left on the clock there.
That's brilliant. That's great for the streamers, and you gotta take advantage of the format.
Yes, true.
Alrighty, probably if we don't have any particular questions, gonna be time to wrap up. Was quite a quick stream actually. Magyar Ország. Yes, Elias, that's what I said. Oh, only Moya won from Czech Republic. So I guess we need to change that as well. Well, Martin's still earning some tiebreakers for his team and reminding everybody why he was the 2012 world champion and a multiple times top 4 finisher in the world championship in Essen. All right, we have a prediction for the world championship from Limbo Man, betting on Japan. But yes, so this is all noted down. So I guess shall we wrap up? Netherlands won against Germany 4-1. Hungary won 4-1 against Czech Republic. Both these results can be considered a bit of an upset. The Book of Carcassonne will be heading to the viewer with the username Glovier, and where this is heading we'll see in a few weeks. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. So I'm hope to see most of you back on Saturday for a long but hopefully interesting morning of Carcassonne. And thank you very much, Dan, for joining as well. It was a great pleasure of having you here and hearing all your insights.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for your instruction and for everything I've learned from you on during the course of this video.
Well, we'll see who learned from whom more. So. Last year, Dan and I actually played our only game ever in person in the championship, in the UK championship, and that one Daniel won by securing by placing his last meeple on a very large field and just securing all the entrances in such a way that I had no way of entering, and so I tried to catch up with some quick points, but then it didn't work. It was a very interesting game, actually.
It was. I enjoyed it. I think I had a little bit of luck. There were a couple of tiles that you could have tied the farm with, which I ended up drawing. And of course, I had to go through the pain of not having any meeples for the last few turns. I just really felt like I was just hanging on in there. But it was a great game, and I fully anticipate that we will end up clashing again this year.
Probably. I expect this is just what has to happen mathematically, unless we both do horribly at the start. Or one of us does horribly, which I hope doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, there's always some upset.
Alrighty. Yeah, then that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to see you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.